the winning of the debate is not the issue. It is the vindication of truth. That I know that my enemies don't believe that's why I do this, but I've been doing this now since, well, my first formal debate was in August of 1990. So that was 20 years ago, right at 20. In fact, yeah, just past my 20th anniversary from I think it was August 16th of 1990. Wow.
Well, congratulations.
We didn't have cake or anything. Then again, I wouldn't have eaten the cake if we had. But we should have had a celebration here on ABN of the 20th anniversary of my first debate. But the reason we do it is I really do believe that debate, more than any other format, allows for the vindication of truth with great clarity, because you have both sides right there. When people have to go from one, they listen to the people over here, and they go and listen, and they listen over here, well, that sounds good. But then you go over here, Proverbs says the first man to present his case sounds right until his neighbor comes along and examines him. And it's that interaction that I think is so important.
Amen. Amen. Well, we thank God for you and the gifting He's given to you. We thank God for our viewers, and we'd like to take our next caller right now. Welcome, you're on the air with Answering Islam.
Hello?
Yes, hello, you're on the air.
Yeah, hello, Father Joe. How are you?
Okay, I hope you are.
Peace be with you and with your respected guest, Dr. James White.
Yes.
Yeah, my comment is about the Quranic verses. It lacks a lot of the basic specifics, such as, like in the beginning of the verses, they may say, first of all, who said, right?
Okay.
Okay, and the ending of the verse, it appeared to them. To whom it appeared?
Yeah, you're talking about Surah 4, verse 157.
Yes, like the Quranic version of Crucifixion.
Yes.
So if I'm a Christian born and I would convert, for example, if I would be converted to Islam, I would like to hear more specification or information about how Jesus was not crucified.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You would think so, but the only thing that is offered to you from Islamic sources is both their tradition as well as sources that they cite. For example, let me name names here so that you can go and check me out, make sure that what I'm telling you is accurate. If you go to aswatalislam.com, I believe it is, you can download all of the television broadcasts in audio format that Jamal Badawi did. And there's a whole series there on the subject of crucifixion. And if you listen to what Badawi says, if you listen to what Ahmed Deedat says, all they're going to do is pull up historical sources that were tinged by Gnosticism or that came from much later centuries to try to say, well, we're not the only ones who said this. But this is what they won't tell you. The only person that I know of that was a monotheist that believed that Abraham was a prophet of God and that the Torah and Injil were revealed by God in all of history that denied the crucifixion was Muhammad. In other words, everybody else that denied the crucifixion likewise would not have believed in the God of Israel, in the Old Testament scriptures, in the New Testament scriptures, whatever it might be. Instead, they had other sources of authority. They believed in a plurality of gods or in what's called the Gnostic pleroma, things like that. Those who were monotheists who believed that God acted in this world, the first one that I know of that denies the crucifixion of Jesus would be Muhammad himself.
Well, he stands alone in really, I mean, well, even the cults today, is there any cult that accepts all of those prophets and denies the crucifixion, and Jesus and denies his crucifixion, aside from Islam? It stands alone,
there might be. I mean, there's lots of weird groups out there, you know, little small ones I might not know anything about. But as far as major religious groups, I'm just not aware of anybody, no.
Yeah, okay. Caller, thank you so much for your call. We appreciate that. Dr. White, now, it's a little bit lengthy. You mentioned this before, but did you want to mention the Yusuf Ali?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I don't have it in my edition of the...
I have it here.
Well, I could bring it up on another program, but since you had it there, he makes comments about the subject of penal substitution and so on and so forth. And about this idea of this appearing to certain of his enemies.
Illusion. He uses the word illusion.
Let's hear what he had to say.
I'll read it at length. It's not that long. It's note 663 in the Yusuf Ali version of the Quran, that is the English translation, Surah 4, verse 157, note 663. The end of the life of Jesus on earth is as much involved in mystery as his birth, and indeed the greater part of his private life, except the 3 main years of his ministry. It is not profitable to discuss the many doubts and conjectures among the early Christian sects and among Muslim theologians. The Orthodox Christian churches made it a cardinal point of their doctrine that his life was taken on the cross, that he died and was buried. On the 3rd day he rose in the body with his wounds intact, and walked about and conversed and ate with his disciples, and was afterwards taken up bodily to heaven. This is necessary for the theological doctrine of blood sacrifice and vicarious atonement for sins, which is rejected by Islam.
Okay, right there.
Yes.
I now have the note up in front of me, so we can interact with each other.
Yes.
This is necessary for the theological doctrine of blood sacrifice and vicarious atonement for sins. It sounds like in his mind that doctrine brings about the crucifixion,
yes,
rather than the crucifixion being the foundation that brings about the doctrine.
Right.
But notice he admits for the theological doctrine of blood sacrifice and vicarious atonement for sins, which is rejected by Islam. And so he's open, at least, in admitting that we have a theological paradigm at work in here.
Yes.
I can go ahead and continue as it's brought up here. But some of the early Christian sects, now listen to this, but some of the early Christian sects did not believe that Christ was killed on the cross. The Basilidians believed that someone else was substituted for him. Now I stop right there. The Basilidians are Gnostics. As I said, here in a... would you say it's probably in the English world anyways? Yeah. The most widely distributed. It's certainly the one that Saudis are cranking out of their printing presses. It's probably the most popular one. So here in probably the most popular translation of the Quran,
son of a gun,
you have the Gnostics being brought forth and called Christians. Now, I was just watching the video of my discussion with Ektasham Ghulam that we had here last time.
Okay.
And I raised a question to him. I said, why do you keep calling these people Christians? I said, let me ask you something. Could you call someone who thought that Allah was a devil a Muslim?
Yeah.
He looks at me like, well, of course not.
Yeah.
I said, then why in the world would you call these Gnostics who believed that Jehovah was an evil God Christians?
Yeah.
And his response is, well, they had some beliefs they were off on. And the whole audience just started laughing because it was so plain that he was using one standard for himself and another standard for us. It was just as clear as can be. Here you have it. The Basilidians believed that someone else was substituted for him. Well, they did because they didn't believe Jesus had a physical body. Why do you call somebody a Christian who doesn't believe Jesus had a physical body? Would you call someone a Muslim who didn't believe Jesus had a physical body? Of course not. Then notice the next one. The Docetai held that Christ never had a real physical or natural body, but only an apparent or phantom body, and that his crucifixion was only apparent, not real. Well, at least he gives you the facts there. Yeah. The Docetai, or the Docetics, goes back to the Greek term dokein, which means it seems. They taught Jesus seemed to have a physical body. And he's exactly right, but he doesn't connect the dots. Because if that's the case, then why even mention them? If they don't believe Jesus really existed as a man, then they don't fall into the categories of Christian or Jew or Muslim.
Right.
So why are they relevant?
Yeah.
The Marcionite gospel, Marcion, is a Gnostic gospel about AD 138. It's a little bit early, but 140, around there. Denied that Jesus was born and merely said that he appeared in human form. Exactly, because he didn't have a physical body.